Hey everybody, welcome to J Stern Designs. This is going to be the week of the jean skirt. I'm going to be teaching this class, Make Jeans into a Skirt, on Sunday for the Atlantic ASG, and I thought what I would do is give some tips on how to take apart jeans today for Tuesday's quick tip. And then on Thursday, I'm going to talk about embellishment, and I'm going to show examples of different fabrics that could work for applique and needles and threads and that kind of stuff. All right, so today what we're going to do is pick out and cut apart a pair of jeans. My favorite thing to do is pick a pair of jeans that's too small, and the reason why I like to do that is because I can add fabric to the side seams to make them fit again. And the reason why that's a cool thing to do is because it gives you a lot of style option. Let me show you on this pair of jeans right here, on this skirt that I made out of a pair of jeans that was too small. You can see that I've added a strip of denim here that turns into a godet at the hem, and I've also added it on the other side. So that's what I'm gonna go for the skirt I'm working on now. And I have these jeans. They're a pair of jeans that I used to love to wear, and I will never fit into them again. All right, so let me show you step by step how to cut them apart. All right, so the first step in cutting apart your jeans is to determine how long you want your skirt to be and make a mark across the leg where you're going to cut it off. Now, I like to have my jean skirts be just below my knee because my knees are not attractive and I'm almost 47 years old. So I've already measured on myself and I've marked one leg. And basically to get the legs even, what I'm going to do is I use chalk here, and I'm just going to darken this line with my chalk liner. So it's got lots of chalk on it. So it's, so it's a nice bold chalk line. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my jeans in half, lining up my crotches, my crotch points, and my hem like this. And just very simply what I'm going to do once it's all lined up is I'm going to give it a pat, and you can see that the line transferred to this leg as well. So now, without any fancy measuring or spending a lot of time, I know I have to cut this leg over here. So I'm just going to take my scissors or a rotary cutter, and I'm just going to cut across and cut off my legs. All right. Okay, so let's deal with these legs first. These are going to be the fabric you're going to use to make your inserts if you're working with jeans that are too small. You're going to use it for the insert for the front of your skirt when we take apart the inseam to fill that in. And, anything else you're going to use it for, this is what it's going to be. So before you cut these and make them a flat piece of fabric, think about whether or not you want to use this front seam. Whether or not you want to use this seam. In one of my skirts that I made, I actually centered this top stitching inside the insert to fill in the front of the skirt. So if you want to use that in your insert, you're going to want to cut your leg in half on the side over here. And if you're not going to use this seam as part of your embellishment, then what you can do is you can cut apart the leg along the seam. So what I'm going to do just to show you is I'm going to start on the edge that I cut, and I'm just going to cut the skirt apart right along the seam. And notice I'm not cutting into this folded edge because that can be used someplace on your skirt. All right, so I'm leaving that intact, and you can see I'm just cutting right along the fold. So just like this. And, get as close as you can get. We can neaten it up later if you decide you're actually going to use this edge. But for now, I just want to cut that apart. And I'm going to cut straight through my hem. All right, so now I've got one piece of fabric that's ready to use to fill in spaces on my skirt. Another thing I want to show you, I'm just going to take apart the hem here for a second because I want to show you that sometimes and depending on the jeans that you're working on, you can get a cool effect, sort of a tie-dye effect of the hem if you let it down. So I just want to show you what that looks like. It also adds about an inch if you're just shy of the amount of length you need to fill something in. It gives you another inch. So I'm just going to, I started unstitching it, and now I'm just going to slide along with my seam ripper like this and see how fast it comes out stitching. So I'm not picking the stitches, I'm using the blade of the seam ripper by just sliding it between the hem and the jean. Okay, this is much quicker than picking apart the stitches, which I know a lot of people like to do, but this is the quickest way to use a seam ripper to take apart a seam or a hem. Okay. All right, so I just want to unfold this and show you what it looks like now. All right, I'm just going to flatten this out. I'm using my clapper. Look how nice, well, all right, so you can see that you've got extra length there that you can use if you're short. And some jeans even have a more interesting fading detail when you take apart the hem, depending on how old they are or if there was any distressing. So that's how you take apart the hem if you need more length or if you want to use this distressed area as part of the hemline on your skirt. All right, so I've got my legs, and I'm just going to cut apart this other leg, and then these will be all set and ready to go. So let's deal with the top portion now. All right, so I know that these jeans are too small. So I'm going to want to cut through my side seam, and basically I'm just going to start at the bottom of my leg, and I'm just going to cut right in the seam. Most jeans don't have a lot of top stitch detail on the side leg, so I really am not that concerned with keeping the original top stitching. So I'm just going to cut right in my seam. And if you find the seam, it's really easy. If your side seams are pressed open, it's really quick to just use your seam ripper and slice them open that way. That'll give you the finished folded edges for your to when you add your godets. So I can just slice through really quickly using my seam ripper like this. Most jeans are top stitched from the waistline to the bottom of the pocket bag to hold it to the back. So I can only slice this easy up until the base of that. So let me just go as far as I can. Really quick. Now I can't do that anymore because my side seam is sewn flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut through that. And I'm just going to follow the folded edge of my seam. And when you get to the rivet, be careful that you don't hurt your scissors. So I'm just going to cut right through that like that. And then when I get to the waistband, I'm just going to cut right through it like that. All right, so that's how you take apart a side seam. Okay, and let's do the other one. I've already got it started. I'm just going to finish slicing through. Now, if you slip and you cut into your denim, don't worry. We can make that into a designer detail later. This is very forgiving, so you don't have to be ultra careful. I did cut through. Did I cut through anywhere? Oh yeah, see, I did cut through here a little bit. Don't worry, we'll fix that. So if you make a slice in your actual skirt pieces, don't worry. All right, I'm just going to cut through here. Okay. All right, so now I've got my side seams completely taken apart, and the only other thing I have to do here is my inseam. Now, I do think I want to use the top stitching along the inseam. So I'm going to cut it apart like I did my lower leg portion. And basically what I'm going to do is just follow along the seam and cut really close to the folded edge. But I'm not going to cut the folded edge, or the edge, I'm sorry. I'm going to try not to cut into the edge that's top stitched. When I get to my inseam, I'm just going to cut straight through, and then I'm going to continue down the other side. Okay, now our front jean is ready to go. So this is ready to start working with. I'm going to put it aside. And we still have one more thing we have to do to our back. So the last step is to take out this seam, this back crotch seam. And I don't want to cut this because I want to keep all the fabric, because we're going to actually sew this back together using a traditional seam. So I'm going to use my seam ripper to cut this apart. And basically I'm just going to start in the back, and I'm just going to pick apart this double row of stitching. I'm going to pick it apart, and then once I get it started, I can slide my seam ripper up just like I did to cut apart the hem. And I'm just going to slide it right along, and you can see I can cut it apart that easily that way without making a hole. See, it's very easy. Just, take your time. All right, I did slice it there, but again, no worries. I mean, if you're nervous to do this, you can always pick apart the individual stitches. You could go like this and pick them apart. So if you're worried about it, you could do it like this. And I'm just going to keep going. Okay, I'm almost there to the bottom of the yoke. All right, when I get to the yoke, I'm actually going to pick the stitches from the top because it gets a little hard to get in there. So I'm just going to pick it apart like this. And see, then I can kind of pull it and slash it with my seam ripper like that. All right, I'm also going to take out the top stitching from the belt loop. So see this satin stitching right here is the belt loop that's sewn on. So I'm going to pick it out from the back like that. See how I'm just running my seam ripper right under that? That way, from the right side, I can then just loosen this up and easily detach this, because you need to detach the bottom belt loop. I almost have that out. All right, so my belt loop is now detached, see? And then I'm going to finish taking apart my back seam. Okay, so I got to the top on that one. Okay, so this first seam is taken apart, and you can see I did cut it a little bit there. That's okay, I'll show you how to fix that when we go to sew. All right, so now you can see I've taken apart this whole first seam. Now we just have to take out the second seam. And I'm just going to work a little at a time, sliding in there and cutting the stitches. Like that. Okay. All right, and then after you get this seam out, your both front and back pieces are ready to start working with. So I'm going to hold it taut, and I'm just going to use the tip of my seam ripper to clip these stitches really quick. Like this. It goes really fast. All right, so now I've got my back center seam, I've got my back crotch seam cut apart, and the back is ready to start working with as well. All right, and that's how you take apart a pair of jeans and get them ready to sew a jean skirt. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that tutorial on how to take apart your jeans and also how to select a pair of jeans. If you have questions or comments, please post them below, or you can visit my blog at Stern Designs and post a comment there. So I hope you'll join me on Thursday when we continue our adventures into making a jean skirt, when I talk about different fabrics, threads, and notions you need to embellish your skirt.